Hey, what's up, gamers? It's your boy, Church of Caboose, and welcome back to my channel. We're going to be talking about the Caretaker plus its raid challenge base information. I'm going to give you a guide to how to do both those things, so that way if you know how to do one but not the other, or neither of them, you will be covered. So if you enjoy this video, make sure you click the like button as well as subscribe to my channel. If you already know how to beat Caretaker, go ahead, go to the timestamp here, because this timestamp is going to be for talking about the challenge. Until that point, we're going to be talking about how to do the Caretaker encounter. So if you know how to beat Caretaker on the regular without challenge, go ahead and skip on over to the timestamp. Alright, for the Caretaker, it's not super duper hard. When you're doing this on normal, you're going to have essentially 3 fire teams of 2. They all do very important roles. For once, ad clear is actually needed. So we're going to have a fire team for ad clear, 2 guardians, 1 left, 1 right. We're going to have a fire team doing stun, which is going to involve the boss. And then we're going to have a fire team of 2. They are going to be running around grabbing all of the symbols. Now, what do each of these teams need to do, and how does it play into the encounter? The gist of the encounter is you need to be able to put in enough runes and shoot out all the runes on the obelisk, just like in the first encounter, in order to do damage. When damage happens, there are 3 plates around the obelisk. 1 will light up on the same side the boss comes up the stairs, and that is where you have your first round of damage. After so much time, then the next plate in the middle will appear, and then you go to the last plate. So it will either go left, middle, right, or right, middle, left. Once all the runes have been shot out, that's what activates damage. But there are 2 wipe mechanics. Just like in the first encounter, Acquisition, if adds do enough damage to the obelisk, well, then you have a wipe. And then the additional wipe encounter is going to be if the stun team does not stun the boss well enough, and the boss goes up, grabs the obelisk, and boom, there's a wipe. The last wipe mechanic, which is kind of similar to Acquisition, is if the fire team doing the runes gets their runes rejected a total of 3 times. There's 3 floors on this boss fight, so you can only have a total of 3 wrong inputs onto the obelisk. Those are the 3 wipe mechanics. The fire team that is stunning the boss has a very important job, and they're not going to be able to get lots of ammo, so you guys might want to have on something like Outbreak, so that way when you run out of heavy ammo, boom, you can switch to your Outbreak when you're doing boss damage, and no big deal. In order to stun the boss, you guys want to be on opposite sides of him when he spawns in. When the boss guy spawns in, he's going to kind of like look around, you get really close in his face, like you can punch him and stuff, and his head will rear up and glow yellow. Someone needs to shoot him in the face, and that will open up his back. Once the person on the opposite side shoots him in the back, well, that is a stun. This whole time there's little like cockroach things coming out of the boss. It's a great time to shoot those cockroach things when he's stunned, because every now and then those, like, someone gets enough of a debuff, I believe it's Caretaker's Gaze, those little cockroach things will go and zoom after whoever's got that debuff, as well as when you're doing damage. Those are also things to worry about as well. All right, and that is the stun. That is a really important part. You just do that over and over and over. In my experience, the first stun, maybe 2, is kind of the trickiest. Once the boss gets on the stairs going up to where damage phase is at, it gets a lot easier because the boss is going in a straight line. So when one person is in front, one person's on back, 180 degrees opposite sides of the boss from each other, it's pretty easy to get those right angles. Now be aware, the boss can do a little slam thing that will knock you off the map. Doesn't happen all the time, but when his head rears up, if you shoot him in the face fast enough, he will not slam down, and you won't have to worry about getting stomped off. If you do, no worries, just float or jump down to the next safe area and just run your way back up as fast as you can. Now the next fire team is the ad clears. These guys are also important because if ads do too much damage to the obelisk, well, then it is a wipe. So you want to have 1 on left, 1 on right, and basically just kill the ads as fast as they possibly can. I personally like using Wither Horde because it works well for boss damage, and it happens to work pretty well for ad clear. So you can throw down a Wither Horde and run around. If you want to use Void 3.0 with like Funnel Web or something, that's also fantastic. Trinity Ghoul also works really well. So you got a couple of options. The main thing is whatever you need to use in order to kill ads in an efficient way as fast as possible, so there's not too many of them, then great, because those ads will also be able to target the rune guys when they're shooting in their runes, and they really need to be able to pay attention to their job. And so if they're having to deal with ads trying to kill them, it just makes it a little bit tougher. And the rune guides might have some limited visibility, which we'll go into next. And so it's just way easier if you don't have to worry about ads, because you guys on the AdClear team are doing a stellar job. Now, the last fire team of 2 are the rune grabbers. So when those rooms open up, you shoot the little chrysalis that starts the encounter, a door goes up, just like Acquisition. A rune guy will run in, grab 3, sometimes 2, that's up to you guys, 2 or 3 of those relics. We're going to call them out like knowledge, grief, light, and then run out. And you guys are going to be like, okay, on the obelisk, you'll see they'll already be on the obelisk, those 3. So the guy on the outside will probably have found at least 2 of them. And you're going to call, hey, I've got grief and I've got light. And the other guy's like, all right, cool. Then I got the remaining one. 3, 2, 1, shoot, and shoot it in. You'll notice on the bottom left of your screen, it will say the obelisk awaits an offering from whatever the gamer tag is of the person that has those symbols. And that is when you want to shoot those in. If you don't do it fast enough from each other or do it wrong and shoot the wrong ones, well, that's a rejection. You get a total of 3 rejections before a wipe happens. This is not a total of 3 per floor. It is 3 between all 3 floors, because you have to do this cycle on 1 floor and then on a 2nd floor. Unless you're really good at damage and figure out how it all works, you'll have to do a 3rd floor. There's some like timing with it, so we're not going to worry about that because I haven't quite figured it out. I want this guide to be as useful for as many people as possible. Alright, so once you have shot in all 9 symbols, when you shoot those symbols on the obelisk, they disappear, right? That helps you to know how many are left. So once all those symbols have been shot off the obelisk, you guys have been running in and out, that is what starts damage phase. Now, rune guys, the last thing to be aware of, when you're running into these rooms, you will get darkness. And the darkness slowly goes away once you leave the room. So when that door comes up, you know they need the guy on the other side to shoot it out. That's why only one person runs in the room to grab those relic rune things, symbols, at a time, because if you're both in there, well, then you gotta rely on somebody else to be able to get to you quick enough and shoot that door open so you can both come out. And then if you both go in there, you might be grabbing like 6, and that's just a lot to deal with. So just have 1 at a time go in for 3 runes each. Some people do 2. It's worth noting the first room is kind of small, so it makes it a little bit easier. Second room is pretty well spread out. You know, there's going to be quite a bit of running. And the third room has lots of holes in the floor. Each floor that progresses, there's a few more holes in the floor. So just be aware that you don't want to just run and not pay attention to where you're going. There's also going to be some shielded wizards you cannot damage in each of those rooms. Alright, so once you have shot out all 9 of those symbols on the obelisk, that is what starts damage phase. At this point, you're going to call out what side damage phase is starting on. If the boss is coming up the right stairs and you're like, hey, damage is on right, so everyone goes over to the right plate, you're shooting out the little cockroach things, eventually that plate glows yellow, that means damage phase starts and you just unload. Then on the bottom left, it will say the well begins to fade, so then you run to the second one, that one's going to be in the middle. Same thing, well begins to fade, run to the last one, shoot him out until the boss disappears and teleports to the next floor, and then run on up. The last thing, there's going to be stairs that are going to drop down. When you get to the top of those stairs, they can be kind of funky. You might have little gaps in the top of them, so just jump over the top of the stairs. Don't just run over, because then you'll fall down and you have to run all the way back up. And it's just a pain in the butt. Timing's kind of important, so it helps to not fall down to the floor below. So that is Caretaker. You just do that 3 times. Once you get to the 3rd floor and you shot out to the final stand, the last floor is going to drop down. You're going to run up to the top of those stairs, do damage on each plate until he is dead, and you only have 3 plates to do this on. This is why Outbreak is pretty nice, because it does lots of DPS. So if you run out of heavy, this works pretty well. You put on Outbreak, boom, you slay him. Some weapons to run. I personally really like linear fusion rifles. It just works really well for me. I have a Reed's Regret with triple tap Vorpal. That's just kind of my go-to for damage. It also helps to have Izanagi's Burden. So if you got someone with Izanagi's and someone with a Gallowhorn, you could do Izzy, Gallowhorn, auto-loading rockets, and Divinity. Right? Divinity is going to always help with doing extra damage because it expands the crit. And so that's a pretty common strat. So you have a Divinity, and you got Izzy with auto-loading holster rockets, and then a Gallowhorn. Or you just kind of run linear fusions. I like running Witherhoard with a linear fusion. Up to you guys. Those are just things that seem to work pretty well for the community right now for DPS to kill the Caretaker. So now that we've established what to do for Caretaker, let's talk about the challenge base information. It's pretty easy, so this video is almost done. All right, for challenge, the base information. This is part of the title. You get an extra piece of loot because you get 2 chests at the end when you beat Caretaker instead of 1. This is why people want to do challenge and usually do it. To get the challenge done, it's called base information. It is pretty simple. You can only have 1 relic symbol thing picked up at a time. So when we're talking about the normal version, you go in, you grab 3 of them. Well, this time you only grab 1. Teams that I have done this 2 ways. You either have 2 runners, just like before, 1 runs in and are trading out with each other, or you can have 3, like 2 going in, 1's kind of watching the door, and you're just kind of rotating around, just kind of being aware of if you're the only one that's in the room or not. All right, and so what's going to happen is you're going to run in, grab 1 symbol. You don't have to call it out. You just have to remember it and come on out. Then you want to pay attention to the bottom left of the screen. So when I was doing it, it would say that the obelisk awaits the offering from Church of Caboose. I'm like, cool, shoot it. If I had kill, great, shoot kill. Now I'm coming out of the room, I'm already looking for where my symbol is at. So that way, as soon as it says it is ready for my offering, boom, I shoot it, great, and I run back in. One big trick with this is timing is pretty key. Like, it's going to take a while when you can only grab 1 rune at a time. So instead of having maybe like 3 times, maybe 4 where someone goes into the room, it's potentially as many as 9 times where someone has to run into the room. So stunning is going to be really, really important to be really strong on, as well as ad clear. If you're going to have 3 people running, ad clear is done by 1 person, and that is really, really important. I highly suggest using ad clear weapons like Trinity Ghoul, just because you are by yourself. There can be a lot of ads, and you have to keep those ads off. So when those runners are going, they can't really do a whole lot to help you out. Stun team can't do a whole lot to help you out. So 2 is a little bit safer, but the trade-off is the timing can be kind of risky. 3 was a little bit faster, but then the trade-off is then the ads are a little bit harder to control. So now you know the best of the 2 worlds. It's up to you guys to pick. For the runners, be aware you are gaining stacks of darkness. It takes a while for those stacks of pervading darkness to go away. So when you're running in and out constantly, you're pretty much grabbing stacks as you go. The first room is not that big of a deal to kind of run in and out continuously. I would sometimes pause a little bit till at least 1 or 2 stacks go away before I would run in. And then when you get to the second room, it's a lot bigger, so it's way more important to pay attention. It'd be way better to just wait so you can grab the last symbol safely and not die than it is to go in and risk dying because you took a while to find the symbol, grab it, and come on back outside of the room. All right, so that's how you do the challenge. You can only pick up 1 symbol each, and then you have to shoot it off the obelisk. So don't pick up 2, don't pick up 3, only grab 1 symbol. It's kind of nice because you don't have to make any callouts. It's a little bit simpler as far as teamwork and coordination goes, but it does take a fair bit longer. So that is the video for how to beat Caretaker as well as the challenge. I hope this was useful. Please let me know down below if this was helpful. Like the video, subscribe. I would also love a comment about the thumbnail. I have decided that something my channel is perhaps lacking the most in is the thumbnail art. And so I have started utilizing designers, and I'll be honest, I pay a little bit of money to have someone design it. And I would love to know if you guys think these thumbnails are like, yes, these are good. The thumbnail had a lot to do with why I clicked on the video. That would really help me to know, because I'm trying to kind of keep track of numbers to see what is worth my time / money to put into this channel. And so if you guys give me some feedback, that would be really helpful. Thank you guys all so much for watching. Don't forget, I want to have some information. I just joined a group called TAGuardians. It's a new kind of a community for small creators and streamers such as myself. I think it's kind of new. I just joined them. And I would, so like if you want to be a part of their Discord or their team, I'm going to have links as well as some information about the group down below. If you go to my Twitter, I have them tagged in a tweet that I put out. So, that might help you guys out. They did a really cool little video thing for me. I thought it was awesome. So if the guy who puts this all together sees this, thank you. I appreciate it. You did that really quick too, by the way. It's pretty awesome. All right. Thank you guys all so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Have a great week and happy grinding, y'all.